Sebastian Thorne, CEO of Thorne Industries, was a titan in a tailored suit. His reputation preceded him like a winter gust, cold, efficient, and unyielding. In the gleaming canyons of the city, he was known as the Glacier, a man who saw emotion as a weakness and calculated success with the precision of a master engineer. Yet, even glaciers have their warm spots, and Sebastian's was a radiant 7-year-old supernova named Maya. Every Friday, without fail, the glacier thawed. His executive dinners and late-night calls were put on hold for one sacred ritual: Friday night dinner with Maya. Tonight, Maya, with her boundless energy and discerning palate, had chosen the Gilded Spoon, an opulent and exclusive restaurant as Sebastian's own world. The chandeliers glittered like frozen tears, and the hushed murmurs of the elite filled the air. Sebastian, despite his usual stoicism, felt a familiar warmth unfurl in his chest as Maya chattered excitedly across the polished table, recounting her week's adventures at school. For these precious hours, he wasn't the formidable CEO, he was simply Dad. He listened, truly listened, to every detail of her day, from playground politics to the latest masterpiece she'd created in art class. The world outside the restaurant's grand doors, with its endless demands and cutthroat competition, faded into a distant hum. As Sebastian settled into the familiar comfort of their Friday ritual, a young woman approached their table. She looked to be in her late 20s, her uniform pristine, but her eyes told a different story. They were a vivid, painful red, puffy as if she'd spent hours weeping. Her skin, a rich, warm mocha, contrasted sharply with the stark white of her uniform, making her distress even more apparent. She offered a practiced, almost desperate smile, but her voice, a soft tremor, betrayed her. "Good evening," she managed, her tones strained. "My name is Elena. May I take your order?" Sebastian, ever observant, noticed the subtle quiver in her hand as she held her notepad, the slight catch in her breath between words. He was accustomed to people masking their true feelings, but Elena's pain seemed to seep through her forced composure. Maya, ever the innocent, tilted her head. "Why are your eyes so red?" she asked, her voice clear and direct. "Have you been crying?" Elena's forced smile faltered. She blinked rapidly, a shadow crossing her face. "Oh no, sweetie. Just the onions in the kitchen are very strong today. My apologies." It was an obvious lie, even to Sebastian. The Gilded Spoon was known for its delicate French cuisine, not an overwhelming assault of pungent onions. Sebastian watched Elena carefully as she excused herself to retrieve their drinks. Her shoulders, usually held with professional poise, seemed to sag under an invisible weight. He noted the way she moved, a certain weariness in her steps, a slight hesitation as she navigated between tables. As she returned with their sparkling waters and Maya's special fruit concoction, Sebastian's gaze drifted past her to the bustling heart of the restaurant. There, near the kitchen's swinging doors, stood a man in a crisp suit, the manager, his eyes narrowed to slits or fixed on Elena. There was no warmth, no professional assessment in his gaze, only a cold, hard disdain that sent a prickle of unease down Sebastian's spine. He tried to brush it off, attributing it to the usual stresses of restaurant management, but the image lingered. The manager's gaze was too intense, too personal for mere professional scrutiny. It held a hint of malice, a predatory quality that made Sebastian's internal alarm bells faintly chime. He was a man who understood power dynamics, and the scene he'd just witnessed spoke volumes about a toxic environment. He briefly considered intervening, but he wasn't one to meddle in other people's affairs without direct cause. He compartmentalized the observation, filing it away as an unsettling detail in an otherwise pleasant evening. For now, his focus was on Maya, her bright eyes and her innocent chatter. The dinner, despite the underlying current of unease, proceeded as planned. Maya devoured her miniature filet mignon, recounting tales of her imaginary unicorn, Sparklehoof. Sebastian, a silent observer, occasionally caught Elena's eye as she attended to other tables. Each time, her smile seemed a little more fragile, her movements a little more strained. As they finally prepared to leave, Sebastian's focus was on ushering Maya out into the cool night air. But just as they reached the edge of the parking lot, a small, hunched figure caught his eye. It was Elena. Still in her uniform, she was seated on the curb, her knees drawn up to her chest, her handbag clutched tightly against her. The raw, unfiltered grief emanating from her was undeniable. Sebastian felt a rare surge of something akin to genuine concern. He paused, placing a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. "Maya, stay by the car for a moment, please," he instructed, his voice softer than usual. He walked towards Elena, his expensive leather shoes crunching softly on the gravel. The cold air seemed to amplify her despair, making her a stark, vulnerable silhouette against the bright lights of the restaurant. Elena looked up, her eyes wide with surprise and fresh tears as Sebastian's shadow fell over her. I'm so sorry, sir," she stammered, scrambling to compose herself. "I'm leaving now." Sebastian didn't mince words. "You were fired, weren't you?" Her chin trembled, and she nodded, a fresh wave of tears tracing paths down her cheeks. "I ask about my salary," she whispered, her voice barely audible. 2 months. He hasn't paid me for 2 months, but everyone else, the hosts, the bartenders, the other servers, they all got paid today." She swallowed hard, her voice cracking. "When I asked him, he told me people like me should be grateful for a job. He said I was lucky to have a floor to walk on. He said it was because of my skin color. I'm the only black woman on staff." Sebastian's jaw tightened. Racism and exploitation were two things he abhorred, not just morally, but as fundamentally inefficient and destructive. "And what happens now?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. I can't pay my rent," she admitted, shame coloring her words. "I'll be evicted tomorrow." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, painting a bleak picture of her immediate future. Sebastian Thorne was a man of action, not sentimentality. Yet Elena's plight, coupled with the manager's blatant injustice, stirred something within him. He detested weakness, but he admired resilience, and Elena, despite her tears, possessed an undeniable strength. He also had a very practical problem. Maya's nanny, a stern but efficient German woman, had abruptly left the previous day, flying back to Munich for a family emergency. He hadn't yet found a replacement, and juggling Maya's schedule with his own demanding one was proving to be a logistical nightmare. He looked at Elena, really looked at her. Her eyes, though red, held a quiet dignity. Her composure, even in despair, was remarkable. "Can you cook?" he asked abruptly, the question cutting through the emotionally charged air. Elena blinked, taken aback. "Excuse me?" "My daughter's nanny left yesterday," he reiterated, his voice regaining its usual brisk efficiency. "I need someone reliable, someone who knows how to handle a 7-year-old, and someone who won't lie to me, except for onions, perhaps." A faint, almost imperceptible smirk touched his lips. "You'd have your own private suite in my home, a salary 4 times what that coward paid you, and I handle my own legal team. We'll get your back pay by Monday morning, with interest." It was an offer that was both unexpected and undeniably life-changing. Elena, still reeling from the shock of her firing and the sudden improbable offer, could only nod. The next day, she moved into the Thorne estate. Sebastian's mansion was a monument to modern luxury, gleaming marble, minimalist art, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Yet, for all its grandeur, it had always felt rather sterile, a gilded cage of cold perfection. Almost immediately with Elena's arrival, the house began to change. The scent of expensive cleaning products was gradually replaced by the tantalizing aromas of garlic sizzling, herbs gently simmering, and bread baking. Elena didn't just cook, she performed culinary alchemy. She took Sebastian's usual, predictable meals, the perfectly grilled salmon, the roasted chicken, and infused them with the vibrant life he hadn't known they lacked. Familiar dishes became extraordinary, bursting with flavors he'd never encountered before, yet somehow deeply comforting. The kitchen, once a pristine, seldom-used space, became the heart of the home, a warm, bustling hub of activity. Even the silence of the house seemed to recede, replaced by the gentle clatter of pots and pans, the soft hum of Elena's humming, and Maya's delighted squeals as she helped Elena bake cookies. The house, for the first time in a long time, felt alive, warm, and inviting. Sebastian Thorne, the man who routinely worked 16-hour days and considered dinner an optional formality, found himself doing something utterly unprecedented. He started coming home early. The magnetic pull of the transformed mansion, the promise of Elena's cooking, and the sight of Maya's bright smile pulling him away from the endless spreadsheets and board meetings. The executive dining room, once his solitary domain, now hosted warm, lively dinners. He would walk through the door at 5:30 p.m., the scent of something delicious greeting him even before he stepped into the foyer. He would find Maya and Elena in the kitchen, flour smudged on their noses, laughing over a botched cookie or a perfectly risen loaf of bread. The easy camaraderie between them was infectious, a stark contrast to the stiff formality he was accustomed to. At the dinner table, he found himself lingering, truly engaging in conversation. Elena had a gentle way of drawing him out, asking about his day not with deference, but with genuine interest. He learned to appreciate not just her incredible cooking, but her quiet wisdom, her resilience, and the infectious warmth she radiated. The boundaries between employer and employee, once so rigid, began to soften, blurring into something far more familial. He started to look forward to these evenings, to the laughter and the shared meals, more than any lucrative deal or successful merger. One particularly rainy Tuesday evening, as the city lights blurred outside the expansive windows, they sat around the dining table, savoring Elena's homemade empanadas, flaky, savory pockets of pure culinary delight. Maya, her mouth full, recounted a particularly adventurous day at school, full of paints and glitter. Sebastian, unusually relaxed, even offered a rare chuckle. As the last crumbs were cleared and the aroma of freshly brewed herbal tea filled the air, Elena looked at them, her eyes no longer puffy or sad, but bright with a quiet determination. "You know," she began, her voice soft but steady, "ever since I was a little girl, I've dreamed of opening my own restaurant." Maya's eyes widened. "Really? What kind of restaurant?" Elena smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. "A place where the food tells a story, where every dish is made with love, and where everyone feels like family. A place that's warm and welcoming, no matter who you are or what you look like." She spoke with a passion that ignited the room, painting a vivid picture of her dream. Sebastian listened intently, a flicker of admiration in his usually stoic gaze. He saw not just a dream, but a blueprint, a vision, and he recognized the fire of an entrepreneur. He realized that this was more than just a passing fancy. It was a deeply held aspiration, born from a lifetime of passion and experience. Elena's words resonated deeply with Sebastian. He saw the same unwavering determination in her eyes he saw in the most successful founders he funded. Her dream wasn't just a fantasy, it was a carefully constructed vision fueled by talent and resilience. Over the next few days, as Elena continued to weave her culinary magic in his kitchen, Sebastian found himself mulling over her ambition. He observed her meticulous planning, the way she experimented with flavors, her innate understanding of hospitality. He realized she possessed not just the skill, but the heart of a true restaurateur. A seed of an idea began to sprout in Sebastian's mind. He had made a promise to get Elena's back pay, and he delivered, his legal team ensuring the restaurant manager paid every cent, with punitive damages for discrimination. But that felt like a mere bandage. He wanted to give Elena something more, something that aligned with her aspirations, something that truly righted the wrongs she had suffered. He pictured the Gilded Spoon, a place of superficiality and injustice, and then he imagined it reborn, transformed by Elena's spirit. The thought of turning a place of pain into a beacon of warmth and welcome, appealed to his sense of justice and, surprisingly, to a burgeoning paternal instinct towards Elena. The idea, initially a fleeting thought, began to solidify, taking on a tantalizing shape. Sebastian Thorne didn't dabble, he executed. The seed of an idea quickly germinated into a meticulously planned strategy. He discreetly initiated a background check on the Gilded Spoon and its owner. The restaurant, he discovered, was struggling, burdened by mismanagement and a dwindling reputation due to its discriminatory practices. The owner, a man more concerned with appearances than substance, was subtly putting out feelers for a buyer, hoping to offload a failing venture without public scrutiny. It was a perfect storm, a golden opportunity. Sebastian's legal team, already primed from securing Elena's back pay, moved with the stealth and efficiency of a predator. Within a week, negotiations were underway. The owner, eager for a quick, quiet exit, never suspected the true motivation behind the anonymous corporate entity making the offer. Sebastian ensured the sale was swift and decisive, closing the deal before the former manager or owner could even comprehend what was happening. He acquired the entire establishment, the building, the kitchen, the liquor license, and all its existing contracts. The Gilded Spoon, a symbol of corporate indifference and prejudice, was now his. The acquisition was executed with typical Thorne Industries precision, leaving no room for error or second thoughts. That Friday evening, Sebastian announced that dinner would be out, just like old times. Maya, thrilled, bounced around, guessing which restaurant they would go to. Elena, having grown accustomed to their cozy home dinners, was pleasantly surprised. As they drove through the city, Sebastian took a detour. Instead of pulling up to a new, unfamiliar restaurant, the car slowed and finally stopped directly in front of the Gilded Spoon. Elena's breath hitched. A wave of painful memories of injustice and humiliation washed over her. She tensed, her hand instinctively going to Maya's. "Sebastian, I don't think," she began, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. Sebastian turned to her, his rare, gentle smile gracing his lips. "Elena," he said, his voice calm, "this isn't the Gilded Spoon anymore." He gestured towards the entrance. A new, elegant sign, still covered by a dark cloth, hinted at a transformation. "As of today, this restaurant belongs to me." He paused, letting the words sink in. Elena stared at him, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Maya, sensing the momentousness of the occasion, looked between the two adults with wide-eyed curiosity. The weight of Sebastian's words hung in the air, transforming the familiar, painful landmark into something entirely new, entirely theirs. Sebastian led Elena and Maya towards the restaurant's entrance. The staff, a mix of old faces and a few new hires, stood lined up inside, looking nervous and expectant. As they approached, Sebastian took hold of the dark cloth covering the sign above the door and, with a flourish, pulled it away. Revealed beneath was a beautifully crafted sign that read, "Elena's Hearth." A gasp escaped Elena's lips, quickly followed by tears of pure, unadulterated joy. The staff inside erupted in polite applause. Sebastian turned to Elena, his eyes unusually soft. "This is your restaurant, Elena," he stated, his voice devoid of his usual businesslike tone, filled instead with quiet pride. "I've taken care of the logistics, the legalities, the finances. The rest, the heart of it, that's all yours." Elena could barely speak, overwhelmed by the enormity of the gift. Maya, ever the intuitive child, wrapped her arms around Elena's legs. "You're going to be the boss, Elena?" she asked, her voice full of awe. Elena knelt, pulling Maya into a fierce hug. "Yes, sweetie," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The restaurant, once a symbol of her pain, was now a monument to her resilience and the unexpected kindness of a glacier. The grand opening of Elena's Hearth was a resounding success. The former manager, a figure of small-minded malice, arrived unannounced, expecting to gloat over the new owner. Instead, he found Elena, radiant and confident, greeting guests at the door. His face, initially twisted in a sneer, slowly morphed into a mask of pure, unadulterated horror as he realized the woman he had so cruelly dismissed was now his former employer's new boss. The tables had indeed turned, with a poetic justice that even Sebastian, ever pragmatic, appreciated. Elena, with the quiet dignity that had first impressed Sebastian, simply offered him a polite but firm "Good evening. I believe your services are no longer required here." The former manager, humiliated and defeated, slunk away, never to be seen in the restaurant again. Under Elena's leadership, Elena's Hearth quickly became the talk of the town. Her philosophy of food made with love and a truly welcoming atmosphere drew in crowds. The menu was a delicious blend of classic comforts and innovative flavors, all infused with Elena's unique touch. Elena's Hearth thrived. Sebastian, still the formidable CEO during the week, found himself a regular at Elena's restaurant, often bringing important clients who quickly became captivated by the food and the warm ambiance. He watched with a quiet pride as Elena blossomed, her confidence radiating, her dream a tangible, delicious reality. The cold, sterile mansion transformed into a true home, filled with laughter, the aroma of Elena's cooking, and the unwavering bond of an unconventional family. Maya, of course, was Elena's most enthusiastic supporter, proudly telling everyone that her nanny was now the best chef in the city. Sebastian often caught Elena watching him and Maya with a soft, knowing smile, a warmth in her eyes that mirrored the hearth she had created. The glacier had not merely thawed, he had melted, revealing a depth of humanity he hadn't known he possessed. He had gained more than a nanny. He had gained a partner, a friend, and an integral part of their family. The restaurant, a symbol of redemption and triumph, stood as a testament to the fact that even in the coldest hearts, warmth can find a way to bloom, transforming not just lives, but entire worlds. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that inspire, teach, and entertain. Until next time, bye!